You've seen Meta, for example, not your case, but FTC, and they've said, look, how is it possible that you're going after us at the expense of, or not at the expense of, but, here's TikTok, this Chinese-owned company that they think is going to effectively become much bigger because of the regulation that's going to come onto them. So how does the foreign piece of this work in your mind?
Yeah, Andrew, so I've heard people make the argument that we need to tolerate monopolies in the United States so that we can be more competitive abroad. I don't subscribe to that view. It's my belief that we are at our best as a society when we are a free, open, vibrant market. We are at our best when we are competitive, when we have opportunity for all businesses of all sizes, of all stripes. And by enforcing the antitrust laws, we're preserving that competitive opportunity for our economy and for all players in our economy. And as a result, we are better. We are more competitive.
What if a company, Jonathan, is just so good that it has a natural monopoly because its services, its products are so amazing? Do you need to target that?
So our laws only focus on anti-competitive conduct that might illegally.
Sometimes it looks like if you're so, for example, when I text someone and it comes back green, it's like, what's wrong with you? What kind of phone is that? Right? I mean, they're so good. Apple is basically a monopoly.
So you're saying it's not easy being green?
Yeah, that's true. But is Apple a monopoly? Don't you think Apple's a monopoly?
Well, I think there's a question as to whether they've, gotten to such escape velocity, if you will, that that the App Store itself becomes a utility. I mean, that's the question.
So
I would tell you that I love it.
Or do you
I would
celebrate
tell you, as a consumer, I love the App Store, and I love that it's secure, and I love all of that as a consumer. But there's a lot of other folks who would say, especially people in the App Store, who would like a different deal.
So again, I won't comment on any specific company or any specific investigation. But what I can say broadly is it really just depends on the conduct. So monopolization law, which is the cornerstone of our antitrust laws, focuses on whether a company has market power, monopoly power, and whether the company is using that power to exclude rivals and maintain their position.
I have a market power question for you, which is, we're now in this moment, we talk about ChatGPT and we talk about AI all the time, but there are a whole number of next generation technologies that seem to require both scale and enormous sums of money, right? Because to get this stuff to work, you need to be buying NVIDIA chips and other chips, not by the dozen, but by, the millions. And the amount of money it takes just the infrastructure to do it is enormous. And so I'm imagining that over time, there will only be a handful of players. And I'm curious what you think of that.
Yeah, so important inflection points of technology have often coincided with antitrust enforcement. And so think about railroads and oil companies and microprocessors, software operating systems, telecommunications networks, because those inflection points create amazing opportunities for productivity, things that are beautiful. At the same time, markets can tip, especially markets that are highly dependent on scale, on data, and in a world of algorithms, in a world of AI, some of those technologies do have the tendency or may have the tendency to tip. So from our perspective, we want those benefits to be delivered to as many Americans as possible. We just want to make sure those markets are free from anti-competitive impediments. But to do that, we have to understand the technology. Over a year ago, I hired a chief economist who was one of the co-founders of the AI Institute at Stanford. And the reason we hired her, who's one of the leading experts in her field, world-renowned, and other data scientists, is because we knew that we had to ramp up our expertise so that we can understand how these markets work. Because only if we understand whether these markets work can we then apply the law effectively.
No, I was thinking about net neutrality. I just fundamentally just sort of am laissez-faire about a lot of this stuff. I think the market forces take care of things a lot of times. And sometimes I just don't, the Hippocratic Oath, don't make things worse by doing too much. Can you just, will you think about that?
Well, we want to make sure that things are not being made worse by illegal behavior. And that's our job. It's law enforcement.
How much, final question for you. How much do you look at, I mean, we had Roger Altman on this broadcast, I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, because he was quoted everywhere, saying there are so many deals that just don't happen anymore.
Right.
because they're worried about you bringing a case. It's not that they actually get to a trial. It's not that they actually get to be adjudicated. But as a result, that he would argue, I think, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, that this new approach is so intimidating unto itself that it's that certain transactions that maybe should be happening aren't.
So I did see that interview, and I listened to the rest of that clip where he said that there's still plenty of deals that don't have antitrust concerns, that don't raise competitive concerns that are happening. It's just the ones that have potential to harm competition that are not leaving the boardroom. To me, that's an important distinction. We care about making sure that deals do not substantially lessen competition, and we enforce the law. And if our enforcement, appropriate enforcement, is keeping those bad deals from ever getting to us in the first place, then we view that as a sign of success.